welcome to Gentle Yoga. This is a lunch break class, so it's only 30 minutes. So we're gonna start seated. I'm sitting up on the edge of a blanket. I find that pretty comfortable. When you sit on a blanket when you're doing a yoga practice, rather than sit like in the middle of the blanket, sit so that your sit bones are just kind of right on the edge. And it'll give you a little bit of a lift in your pelvis so that the knees kind of drop a little lower. It's a little more comfortable to sit, especially if you're going to do any forward bending. That would be the way you want to go. So for our purposes, we're just going to take a few moments to get tuned into our breath, kind of shut down some of the sensory information coming in from the outside. You can close your eyes, for example. And then take some nice, smooth, rhythmic breaths in and out through your nose if you can breathe that way. And of course, if for any reason you can't breathe in and out through your nose, you have a deviated septum, you're congested today, you're allergic to the world, whatever it might be, breathe in any way that you can. When we breathe in and out through the nose, it does a couple things for us. It warms the air up so the oxygen is easier to kind of transfer into the bloodstream. It filters the air. And because it's a little bit smaller opening, the lungs have to actually work a little harder, just a little bit harder to get the air in and get a full deep breath, which helps keep the muscles that work for respiration toned and strong. So if we can breathe that way, we do. When you exhale, feel yourself letting your body relax a little bit more. So inhale and you'll feel kind of that sense of fullness, that slight tension that happens at the very tippy top of the inhale, and then let the exhale just everything relax and let go. Any tension that you might be carrying in your body, just let it go. Shoulders relax. Let your facial muscles relax. Relax the areas right along the edges of the scalp where your ears live. And from the temple back to about just behind the ear, that's often the area where we carry the most tension. And then relax the muscles around the neck enough that it feels like you can soften all of the muscles in the scalp. All right, yogis, we're going to drop our chin. And when you do that, if it feels like it pulls you forward, see if you can correct that. So you're just going to keep your spine neutral. And then we're going to roll the head up to one shoulder, maybe up a bit through the chin, over and up the other way. So you're just going to go back and forth. Do this one more time and notice as you come around, is one side of your neck a little bit tighter than the other? And then when you get to the center and you're even on both sides, just pause there and float your head back up. Now, if you have one side that's a little bit tighter, you can stretch that side out first if you like. I'm going to just do the right side first. So I'm going to drop my head over to the left. And we're going to stretch two muscles, one in the front of the neck and one around the back of the neck, that help kind of keep the skull in alignment on the spine. So we're going to take the chin here, and my head's on the left, and now I'm going to lift my chin up, and then I'm going to pull my collarbone down, okay? So we're just going to stretch that little muscle there. And then breathe. we're going to bring the arm back so that the collarbone is a little softer, and then we're going to drop the head a little bit sort of onto the downward, so kind of roll it over the shoulder. So if I were going to point my nose, it would be sort of at an angle, a diagonal to the left, and then I'm going to take my shoulder blade and pull that down. And so the shoulder blade goes down and the head moves away from the shoulder blade. And take nice deep breaths and try to just allow that muscle to soften nicely and easy. Okay, so we're going to take a big breath, and then I'm going to bring my arm back so that it rests and my shoulder blade is not being pulled in any one direction. Then I'm going to bring my head back to the center and then float it up even. And then just notice where that landed you. So then I'm going to take my head the other direction. I'm going to stretch this one in the front first. So I'm going to take my collarbone out wide, and then my head slightly back toward a diagonal. So the muscle that's right there on the neck. This side is not as tight for me. Pardon me. Sometimes when you stretch these muscles, you'll get either like yawning or salivation. Don't be surprised if that happens. It's a response of the nervous system to actually being, some of the pressure being relieved in this area. All right, so now I'm going to bring my collarbone back to neutral, and I'm going to drop my head forward and to the right on the diagonal, and then draw my shoulder blade down. So on this side, I don't feel the stretch as strongly, but I still get some of those little side effects. Some people also get like some interesting, like an urge to smack the lips. There's some other kinds of interesting little side effects can happen. So take 2 more breaths. And then we'll bring the collarbone and the shoulder blade back into kind of neutral place. Roll the head back into the center, and then bring it up and notice how things went. All right. So when we stretch those two, like those muscles act almost like little bridge girders to hold the skull on correctly. And sometimes it, we get, like our head gets kind of out of alignment because we're looking at screens or whatever. It's a nice little stretch. So bring your shoulders up, around, and back. So we're going to shoot the shoulder blades forward, right? And then lift them, and then pull them together and bring them down. So that's sort of a pattern. If you were going the other way, it's fine. You'll just switch it around in a minute. Okay, so now once we get up to the top and we get the shoulder blades down into the center, we're going to squeeze them together, lift them up, push them forward, and pull them down. So we're going to go the opposite way. See if you can kind of keep them like in that forward position as long as possible, and they squeeze together, lift them as high as you can, push them forward. So just kind of make as big a range of motion as we can with the shoulder blades. Okay, get them down on the bottom. Okay, so we're going to do these little kind of Sufi roll cat things. Some people call them Sufi rolls. That makes me think of sushi, so I don't usually call them that, but you can call them that. It's kind of a fun name. So we're going to round the back, and as we do, kind of pull the navel in, push over to the side. So we're getting kind of, the rib cage moves to the side as far as it'll go, then push the rib cage forward, push it to the side, push it around the back. So we're just moving the ribs as best we can, given the circumstances. So you may not have a lot of rib mobility. We're just going to do our best. One more circle in this direction. When we get to the front, we'll switch direction. So sometimes one direction is a little easier than another. Just notice any differences. And notice places that might feel a little resistant or tight. One more time. All right, so we're gonna unwind ourselves here. Now you can stay up on your blanket if you like. I'm gonna use it under my knees. So I'm gonna fold it differently. Okay. So we're gonna take the legs out into a V shape. And if you have two blankets, you can leave one under your hips and one under your knees. So the legs are out a little bit on the wide side. Now they don't have to be as wide as they can possibly go. Just a little bit of a V will do. Then you're gonna bend one knee, and that guy is going to stay like that. Now you can put your foot all the way over here against your thigh if you want to. I leave a little bit of space. So we're gonna fold forward, and then we're gonna work with the spine similarly to a cat-cow. So we're gonna lift the breastbone up, which might pull us up out of the shape, and then we're gonna round the back, okay? Lift, and you can kind of hold on to the legs to get a little bit of a release there, or a little bit of a structure. So it feels like a little bit, like I've got something to work against. And then round, and then one more time. Now, pick one of those kinds of shapes with your back. Do you like the rounded shape more? Do you like the longer shape more? And then let yourself come in far enough that you feel like it's right at the edge where you can hold that shape, which might not be far at all. And then hold and steady with that pose. Take some deep breaths. Now we're going to inhale our way up so that we're tall. We're going to rotate towards this bent knee. So in my case, it's the left knee. And then pause here for a moment. Now I've wrapped my hand around just to kind of help me hold myself in place. But you don't have to hold on at all. You can just hold the twist. And you can turn your head if you like, or you can keep your head a little more neutral, or even turn it the opposite direction. Let's see what happens. They're just choices, yogis. And 2 more breaths here. So we can still breathe deep even though you're in a twist. All right, we're gonna take the right hand, because that's the left, my right leg is straight, right? So I'm gonna take my right hand, reach out here, see if I can get hold of my big toe. If that does not work out, you can hold your shin, you can hold your thigh, or you can lasso your foot with a strap. And then I'm gonna take this left arm, lift it up, turn it so my palm faces up, and then bring it up over my ear. And stretching out this left side to the degree that it feels good to do that. You might have to move a little bit to find the just right spot. I'm using this foot just to give myself some leverage. And I'm also getting the muscles on that leg really engaged. So my knee is slightly bent. I've got a little bit like I'm pushing on the gas here. And my quadriceps are trying to lift my kneecap up to my hip. Those are the muscles on the top of your thigh. Just in case. I forget sometimes not to use crazy words. But in any case, we're going to take 2 more breaths. And last one. All right, so bring that arm out of there, come all the way up, straighten out both your legs, or you can bend both, whichever way is gonna be better for you. And then just take a moment, I'm gonna jiggle a little bit, back and forth with the ribs, and then notice what happened. So this is a moment where you just feel, and if you don't feel anything, okay. Just notice, like for me, one leg feels a little longer than the other, and it feels a little different on one side of my ribs than the other. They're not big sensations, it's subtle, but it's there. And this act of feeling, like asking the body to send back information to your conscious mind is important because the same nerve pathways that help us relax are the nerve pathways that send information from the body up to the brain. So we, no matter how we use them, we're strengthening that response, right on? So it helps us relax more easily when we keep those pathways working, and and we keep paying attention. because that's how neural pathways work. If you don't use them, they go. So we're gonna, except for 70s TV commercials, those stay there forever. We're gonna take a moment and fold over the middle here, over this leg. And then we're gonna do these little cat-cow shapes. So we're gonna round the back, and then we're gonna bring the breastbone forward. And again, this might bring you up a little bit out of the pose, okay? Round the back, bring the breastbone up, round the back, bring the breastbone up. Now last time I went for this lifted breastbone shape. This time I'm gonna round my back. Just so I have a contrasting experience. You might wanna do it the same on both sides. And then I can, like, my back will let me go on in here, so it feels nice to just let myself hang. We're gonna breathe nice and deep. About 2 or 3 more breaths. And when your inhale finds you, inhale up. And sit up nice and tall for a moment and just notice how that went. Be mindful of lifting your chin when you sit up tall, because that's an interesting notion. Sometimes happens, but it's not helping. So we're gonna twist towards this leg. And again, you could bring your arm all the way over. You don't have to though. And then you can keep your head turning in the same direction or turn your head the opposite direction if you like. Just be mindful, if you turn your head that way and your body goes with it, you might have to reset so that you've got the 2 twists instead of just 1. Breathe nice and deep. Okay, 1 more. We're gonna unwind and take ourselves over to maybe grabbing that big toe, maybe it's a strap, whatever you got. Turn your palm so it goes up, and then that arm is going to go up and over. So in my case, I'm bending to my left, and my right arm is going over, and I'm using this arm to kind of create the structure so I can get these leg muscles really engaged. Really excited about life. So I can feel that. You can do poses any way you like. We're just doing things with a little more muscular engagement in this case. To see what happens. 2 more breaths. I'm going to come all the way out. Unwind your legs. Oh. Give yourself a little movement. Oh. And then just notice. So last time it felt like one side of my rib cage was a little bit bigger than the other, and now they both feel pretty even. Both of my shoulders feel relatively even. One of the things that's really interesting to me is there's certain moves that when I finish them, my shoulders feel muscular and like strong and tough. And then there's other moves that when I do them, my shoulders feel really relaxed and soft. Fascinated by the difference. I haven't quite figured out which movements are exactly the ones that create that response, but I will report back as I figure it out. Okay, so we're going to do a couple things on our back. Before I get there, I want something that can elevate my pelvis a little bit. I'm going to use a blanket. You could use a block as well. Blocks are a little bit higher than what my blanket is going to be, but you can use either one. So I'm going to take this blanket and fold it basically into what amounts to a tiny little pillow, right? So it's about 6 inches wide and, I don't know, 2 feet the other direction. And so this will totally cover my hips laying on it, and then when I'm done, it will also fit under my legs really nicely. So I'm gonna set that to the side for a moment. And then I need something that'll go under my head. I could use this, but for my head, I want a block. And we'll come back to that in a second. So We're gonna lie down on our side. And for some people, you won't need anything under your head. Like, you will just be able to rest your head. I like having something under there. Now, both your arms straight out in front of you, and we're gonna move the arm through an arc that goes up over the head and around. So if you're like me and you've got furniture kind of close by, you might need to do a little adjustment so that you, hopefully I'm still gonna be on your screen, but in any case, hopefully you saw enough of the setup to know what's going on. So the bottom arm is gonna rest. I'm not gonna do much with that. The top arm is gonna do a full range of motion. As I do the range of motion, I wanna reach through my arm, like I'm trying to stretch it up to touch something away from me, as far around as you can go. If you can go all the way to the point where your arms are almost in a T, perfect. And then bring it back. If you can't get quite that far, don't sweat it. Just go as far as you can, come back to the start, okay? So we're gonna go up and over, all the way around, as far as we can go, and then back to the start. Stretch through your arm, try to reach as far as you can. This is where it gets really interesting for me to reach, is that last couple of inches. Coming back. Reach the arm up and around, and for you it might be interesting in different places. Incidentally, where it's interesting indicates a muscle that might be responsible. So that's information that might be helpful. Okay, one more time on this guy. Going up and around, stretch through the arm, bring it on back. Now, we're gonna come onto our back. I'm gonna set my block off to the side for a moment, and then just pause for a second and feel how your arms and shoulders responded to that. If anything feels sore or tender, be mindful of the movement you do next time and see, like, is there a spot that feels a little bit pinchy? Because that might be a spot to avoid or to change the angle of your arm. Okay, so I'm gonna scoot back over and then roll the other way and then do the other arm. So the bottom arm rests, top arm is doing the work. I'm gonna stretch through that arm, reach all the way up and over, stretch through, and then just come on back when you get about to the center of the chest. So reach, and come on back. Reach, and come on back. 3 more times. Just noticing, is there anything that feels a little sticky as I move my arm through this range of motion? Is there a spot that feels a little tender? Last one. All right, and we're going to come on back. So one more time, we're going to come onto our back. And this time, we're going to stay for a bit. So feel how the shoulders went for that, or didn't. And now we're going to put something underneath the hips. So you could, again, you could use the block. That's a little too high for me. I don't need that much. This is gonna be plenty. But for you, it might be the right thing. So you're gonna lift your hips and slide whatever it is underneath your pelvis so that your sacrum, that's the part right in the middle of your pelvis, that is being supported, okay? Now, we're gonna stretch out one leg and take one leg in. So I'm gonna start with my left leg stretched out, and I'm gonna bring my right leg in, and you can just hold it like this, okay? That might be plenty. You can hold it just on the top of your shin, or you can grab hold of the foot like a happy baby. And now it's more like you're in a lunge. And then this left leg, we're gonna reach out through that leg. I'm letting my legs stay on the ground because this elevation is doing a little bit of extra work to help me get into those hip flexors. It's nice. Just breathe, yogis. So our neck and shoulders are one place that we often carry stress and tension. And then the other place, hip flexors, friends, hip flexors. They're big fight or flight areas to protect us. All right, so we're gonna let this guy go. Put both feet on the ground. Give it a little moment. You can do little windshield wiper moves with your legs for a second. And then just pause and see if there's a difference in the way that you feel. So my left side feels just a little bit, the word I'm gonna use is weird, but it feels fluffy. I know, but that's my word. You decide what your word is. It just feels lighter. and a kind of nice, pleasant warmth to it. So to me, that means I did okay. If there's soreness, then I want to change my pose for next time. Okay, so now my right leg is the straight leg. And again, you can do hold on to the leg, hold on to the shin, hold on to the foot, and then reach through that right leg and kind of let this hip flexor stretch out. This is a great way, by the way, if lunges are problematic for you, if you have trouble putting your knees on the ground, like some people with knee replacements, that sort of thing, have a hard time with the pressure of the floor on the knees. This is a great alternative because we're still getting very similar stretching and hip movement, just upside down. It feels good. I don't know what you guys are doing, but I'm feeling pretty good. 2 more breaths, yogis. All right, relax everything, let go. I'm gonna bring this leg down first. And then I'm gonna drag that leg back where it came from. And then just pause for a second. Now I can take this guy out from underneath my hips. So I'm just gonna pick him up and shove it down because that's gonna be right in the right place for Shavasana in just a second. Before we get there, we're gonna do a reclining twist. So we're gonna bring the legs over to one side. Now you can take your top leg and wrap it around your bottom leg like an eagle pose, or you can just leave them all stacked up on top of each other. You can stretch the bottom leg out straight and do it that way. And then roll your upper back towards the floor as best you can. Now, find the angle for your arm that feels like you're gonna stretch the chest but doesn't cause any trouble for your shoulder. And you might need like a little prop, like a block or a blanket underneath your knees to make it just right. Don't be afraid to use the props. Pillow, whatever you got at home will work just fine. Two more deep breaths on this side. All right, we're gonna take this top leg, bring it on back, let the whole thing follow us. Take a moment, rinse out a little. I scooched down my mat accidentally. Okay, I would love a twist. When I get out of the twist, it takes about 30 seconds. But after about 30 seconds, I get this kind of little whoosh of peacefulness. It's so nice. See if it's true for you. Maybe you get it and you've never noticed. You can check it out. Maybe you don't get it. I could be I'm making this stuff up, y'all. I have a vivid imagination. All right, so I'm rolling my shoulder, rolling my legs over to the other side, breathing nice and deep. Trying to relax in the middle of all this. Sometimes it feels like trying to relax in a hailstorm, but we're doing our best, yogis. We're doing our best. Take a big breath. And then we're just going to come on back. Now, we're not going to stay for very long, just a couple minutes. But a couple minutes is worth the time. So stretch out your legs. You can adjust the blanket so that it feels a little softer right here at your hip flexors. If you like it better under your knees, you can do it that way. Get your shoulder blades kind of snuggled under there. And then let your arms relax wherever they're most comfortable. The great news about being in your living room is that there's not another person right next to you, so you have plenty of room to stretch out. If you need a little extra space, then your yoga mat accommodates. And let yourself just breathe and let go. Let your mouth relax. Your eyes relax, and your heart. Notice your breath, yogis. Now, if you have a little bit more time, you can stay here as long as you want. And if you have to scooch off to your lunch or go back to work, stretch out your fingers and toes. Oh, give them a little wiggle. Give your wrist and ankles a little movement. And then stretch your whole body out. Bring your knees into your chest. Give your favorite yogi a hug and a back massage for the road. And then you're going to roll to your side. Gather your courage. You can do this, yogis. And then we'll come back up. And come back where we started. Thank you so much for joining me for a little gentle yoga respite in the middle of your day. Let's take a big breath. And a sigh. Namaste, yogis.